Hey friends, so today I want to make a video about bread. Now, it seems like everybody is talking about sourdough these days. Everybody's learning how to make it. They do tutorials on how to make it easier for you. There's all kinds of recipes to use for your discard in. It's just all over the place, and I think it's so great that so many people are taking charge of learning how to do that, and it's such a great skill to have. But I'm going to be honest, I'm not a sourdough person. Sourdough is fussy, and I don't like fussy. I like really simple things. So the recipe that I'm going to share with you today is a really simple thing. So we like to call it peasant bread. In a lot of recipes and tutorials and things these days, people refer to it as artisan bread. That just seems a little pompous to me because it's a super simple bread, something that, you know, the normal man would have made and eaten in times past. So the other thing that we call it in our circle is sometimes it's known as Harley bread, because my daughter Harley, years and years ago when she was 11 maybe, she made a batch of it for some friends of ours, and the husband absolutely fell in love, ate the whole loaf at once, and it's always been Harley bread as far as he's concerned. So whether you call it peasant bread or Harley bread or artisan bread or easy bread, we're gonna talk about how to make it today. It has 4 ingredients: flour, water, salt, and yeast. It's a super forgiving dough. You mix it all up, you let it rise on the counter for a couple hours, and then you pop it in your fridge. And it can stay in your fridge for a week at a time. And then you just tear off as much as you need and you shape it into loaves, and in an hour you'll have fresh, warm bread. It's yeasted bread, it's not a sourdough, but it does cold ferment in the fridge, so it has a lot of properties like sourdough, and it's actually very gentle as far as your digestion. Or if you have a true gluten allergy, of course you can't have this. But if you just struggle a little bit with not wanting to eat a lot of gluten, or you bothers your stomach if you eat a lot of gluten, you can probably eat this bread, because the cold fermentation does neutralize quite a bit of the gluten, and it's got the bubbly dough, and it's very much like a sourdough, and it's delicious. It's really versatile. You can make pizza crust and a super yummy cinnamon swirl with the same bread, with the same dough, and I'm going to show you how to do all those things. Today's video is just going to be on making the basic loaf. So we'll show you how to put the dough together, and then once it's risen and cold and ready to go, I'll show you how to do that. And I think that you're gonna want to make it because it's simple and it's yummy. My house was a little chaotic, so I'm just going to voice over the recipe part. You're going to start out with 3 cups of warm water, then 1.5 tablespoons of instant or fast rise yeast. I like to buy the big brick of yeast, and then I put it in jars, and I keep the jars in the fridge, and they last for a long time that way. Then we're going to do 1.5 tablespoons of coarse or kosher salt. And then you're going to put in 6.5 cups of flour. It can be any kind of flour. I'm just using regular store-bought unbleached flour here. But you can use whole wheat flour, soft or hard, white or red. You can use rye, any kind of flour. The only thing I've never tried it with is gluten-free flour, so you would be on your own with that one. But 6.5 cups of flour, and then you're going to use a wooden spoon, and you're going to mix it all up until there's no dry flour. Everything's evenly wet, and it's just a nice sticky dough. And then at that point,
Just cover it with a plate and leave it on the countertop to rise for 2 hours. If you forget about it and it actually rises for quite a bit longer than that, it's really not an issue. It's a very versatile and easy dough. In the rising time, it's going to almost triple in size. It should fill the bowl and start to flatten out and collapsing on itself. And then after it rises for at least 2 hours, you're going to put it in the fridge, and you want it to chill for at least a couple hours before you use it, because it's much easier to work with as it chills and it improves the flavor. Okay, so this dough has been here for 2 hours. You can see all the beautiful bubbles. It's risen almost to the top of the bowl. Smells fabulous. Now we're just going to take it and we're going to pop it in the fridge and leave it there for a couple hours until we're ready to make bread. Okay, so it's the next day. Our bread dough has been in the fridge overnight. This is what it looks like. Look at all of those beautiful bubbles. So we're going to get ready to make a single loaf of bread right now. This amount actually makes 3 loaves, or 3 pizza crusts, or 3 cinnamon swirl loaves. It's better to make smaller loaves than one big one, because the one big one won't really bake very well. So the smaller loaves bake up nicely. So what we need is, I use a pizza stone. If you don't have a pizza stone, you could just use a cookie sheet or really any kind of flat pan. And then we're gonna need a piece of parchment paper. And yes, parchment paper is reusable, and I am reusing this one. So we're gonna put that there. And we'll switch this out so we can see better. This is a very sticky dough, so the way we're gonna make it handleable is we're gonna get our hands wet. Okay, we have wet hands. We're gonna tear off about 1/3 of this dough. And we want to be gentle with how we handle the dough, because we don't want our beautiful bubbles to go away. We want them to stay bubbly. Okay, so that's about the right size there. Move this out of the way. And what we're going to do here is we're just basically going to form this into a loaf shape. We're going to kind of pull it from the top under, similar to stretch and folds on the sourdough. but you kind of want to form this smooth top. Okay. And we're just going to set it here on our parchment paper, and we're going to set our kitchen timer for 20 minutes. We're just going to let it sit here for 20 minutes. So we'll see you then. Okay, it's been 20 minutes. We're going to set our timer for another 20 minutes, but we're also going to preheat our oven to 450 degrees. We're going to slash our little loaf to let the gases out. I just use scissors. So the bread, it doesn't rise very much. It doesn't really do much of anything. It just sits there and gets ready to bake. So we'll let the oven preheat for 20 minutes and then we will be ready to bake. Okay, it's been another 20 minutes. Our oven is up to temperature and we are just going to pop this in. We're gonna set our timer for 20 to 25 minutes. And then we'll have our hot, tasty, warm bread. Okay, our timer just went off. Let's see what our bread is doing. Isn't that lovely? So it definitely gets bigger when it bakes, rises a little bit. Nice thump. So we want to let it sit here for about, I don't know, 5-ish minutes, a little bit, just to cool off a bit, 5 to 10 minutes. If you cut into it right away, it's kind of gummy and it gets your knife all yucky. So we'll let it just cool for a minute. And then we'll slice it up. Okay, it's been 10 minutes. It's just been sitting here. Let's slice it up and see how we did. All right, those nice air pockets. See how similar it looks to sourdough? So it's got the nice air bubbles. Nice chewy crust. Just right to have some fresh butter put on and have a nice warm snack. So that's the basic bread recipe and how to bake just a basic loaf. Next time I'll show you how to do pizza crust and the cinnamon swirl bread. If you try it, let me know how it turns out. I'll put the recipe in the comments. If you liked it, as always, I hope you'll like and subscribe to our channel, and thanks so much for watching.